Welcome, everybody. Welcome in. We're so happy to have you with us for a very special group episode here of Association Rockstars, where we are going to together learn about the journey and insights of some amazing association executives who have started and are back having started an amazing organization. My name is Lowell Aplebaum. I'm the CEO of Vistacova. We partner with organizations on strategy and facilitation. With me today, I'm incredibly excited to have back to the table some of the leaders, the board members of Association Latinos, a dynamic network of Latino professionals in the association industry, united by a shared mission to elevate Latino leadership, amplify their voices, and create a more inclusive association profession. Now, instead of our usual, I'm going to read everyone's bio, we'll do something a little bit different. I'm going to have each person introduce themselves. But then I'm going to have them not say what their superpower is, because that's what we do here on Rockstars, is we want to know your skill set. But they're going to have to identify a superpower of one of their colleagues on the call, because we'll see what teamwork and camaraderie looks like. And so, Josie, you're in my first square. Ask you to introduce yourself, and at the end, will you please tell me one of Carlos's superpowers?
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Josie Hernández. I am an account executive with Bostrom. Bostrom is an association management company. And as an account executive, I work with Bostrom's clients to support them as executive director to create and execute their strategic plan. One of Carlos's superpowers, I think, is that he is a great disruptor. So he likes to come in, shake things up, move them all around, and make things happen.
Perfect. Thank you. Carlos, if you'll introduce yourself and at the end tell us one of Diana's superpowers.
Morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Cardenas. I am a senior strategic consultant at Delcor. 15th week on the job, but my job is to provide fractional CIO services, IT maturity assessments, and overall strategic alignment with technology, mission and vision of an organization. Uh, I think Diana's superpower, based on my observations, is she'll give it to you. She'll kind of look through chaos and clutter and say, these are the things that we need to be focused on. And so in today's world, there's a lot of noise, right? And so I guess finding that signal in the noise is one of Diana's superpowers. I think she's great at it.
I love that. Finding the signal through the noise. That is an amazing superpower, Diana. Let's have you introduce yourself and you'll tell us one of Jay's superpowers.
Hi, everyone. I'm Diana Dumitru, the Senior Director for Admissions and Recruitment Affairs at the American Association of Veterinary Medical Colleges. And in this role, I help to develop programs and resources for students that are looking to pursue careers in veterinary medicine. We have a common app, the Veterinary Medical College Application Service, that serves over 48 schools and over 13,000 applicants. So one of Jay's superpowers, I think Jay is really great at keeping us grounded and focused. Sometimes, there are so many things that are happening, and I think he'll make a comment, and I'm like, oh, I didn't really think about that. Like this is, kind of keeping us back in tune. So I think that's a really great superpower that Jay brings that to the group.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jay, you're up and you get to close us out with Josie's superpower.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. My name is Jay Carino. I'm currently serving as the Vice President of Membership for the American Osteopathic Association. I have been working in the association space over 18 years, in which I really focus on developing strong strategic leadership opportunities that drives membership growth, innovation, and engagement into new heights. In terms for Josie, see her as her superpower as inspirational. I like to think of her as Señora Inspiración, the lady of inspiration. She finds how to light the fire in individuals and be passionate and get on board with what we're doing. And everyone just feels inspired and motivated with her inspirational words. So it's something that I always look forward in communicating and interacting with Josie, because she is the type of individual who just lights the fire out of everyone to be in line and help, and has been instrumental in getting Association Latinos moving in the direction that it's been.
Thank you. You know what I love about just that opening intro is that even the superpowers demonstrate just what a nice job you have done in building a leadership team that brings unique elements to better balance each other, to drive each other on from the inspiration to the organization to being the signal through the chaos and the noise, through disrupting. It was great to hear just the multiple dynamics that you all have as a leadership team. We're lucky to have you back again. We had you on a few years ago. But for those who are new to Association Latinos, I was hoping that you could start just by helping us set the stage, right? Just give us a momentary background of how the movement got started and when, and just give us the sort of short history of what brought us to this moment. This is where we said beforehand was going to be fun, that we're going to play like Not It from who gets to go first. And so, who would like to start with the history?
I'm going to let Josie take this one.
There we go.
Oh, great. Okay, so yes, in 2020, our co-founder, Norma Castrejón, who is also still a current board member but couldn't be here, approached Michelle Mason at Association Forum and said, you know, it's Hispanic Heritage Month and, you know, the month is almost over. I don't really see any programming. And, you know, kind of as a matter of fact, kind of said, it's really hard to see other, you know, Latino leaders that I can connect with or look up to and aspire to. And Michelle really took that seriously and took it upon herself and came back to her and said, listen, we just did this study on the impact of DEI initiatives, and we would love for you to find some, you know, of your colleagues to be able to share your perspective, right? The Latino perspective. And so Norma did just that, reached out to Jose, Carlos, myself, we're on it, Jose Segara, and Jay. And that's where we got started. We delivered that webinar and we enjoyed the experience of working together so much. And we saw the opportunity that was needed to fill this gap. And we just continued on pace. Before we knew it, Carlos, in his, you know, usual ways, said, "Hey, we've got a LinkedIn page. I set it up. Let's go." So that's where we got started, and we built a community, and we've really just grown organically since then. We decided to become a 501c3 in 2002, again, based on what our community was saying and what they wanted, that they wanted more, they wanted something more established and more formal. And so we went that route. And since then, we've been able to add additional board members to our board.
You know, I kind of want to take two paths for our conversation. I'm happy to hop back and forth between both. One is the distinct role and what you have seen as a leadership body in growing this community, both for Association Latinos, but for the association industry at large, like what you've been able to really demonstrate and add in raising profile. But then there's also a second path of building a grassroots organization led by volunteers. And so I'm interested in playing both of those paths and happy to jump between them. Josie, just from what you just said, I was hoping you could give us a little more, or someone else, the decision to formally become a 501c3. What factored into that? What have you seen as the benefit of doing that? Would you do it again, knowing that applying for tax status is never a fun thing to do?
I think what factored into that was just what we were hearing from our colleagues in our community, that they wanted more. You know, we really felt that there's definitely opportunity for long-term sustainability of an organization focused on Latinos working in associations, because you know, Latinos make up a big percentage of the country and are growing. And so also there's a lot of entrepreneurship, which I believe, you know, really leads opportunity for association growth. But it was really mostly our community wanting, you know, to have more spaces, really kind of guiding us and asking us for more. I believe that everything that you have seen come out of Association Latinos is a combination of our vision and our response to what our community is seeking.
Open question for everyone. As you think about the past few years, what would you say are some of the significant accomplishments or things that you're proud in terms of the growth of the organization that you've seen? Josie, you're welcome to volunteer someone else if someone else doesn't talk.
I can jump in on that. First, all our work, we cannot do everything that we're doing without the commitment of our volunteers. We have over 50 plus volunteers, and we're grateful that they're here and they're sharing our mission and our vision, our passion and commitment for everything that we do. And they're all really committed in ensuring that we're providing the value that our members, our stakeholders are looking for, and they share that same common purpose. So just having that commitment and that connection with our volunteers, that really brings us all together to serve the greater good of not just the Latino, but the association community overall.
I'd love to hear. I know that there's more programs I've seen. You do more programming now. Your whole awards that you give out are great steps forward as well. I'm going to go to those in a moment, but Jay, I want to go to something you just talked about. For a grassroots organization to have over 50 volunteers that you're coordinating to put on this kind of robust community is not small. How do you, from a volunteer standpoint, just keep all of that coordinated? You would think just coordinating 50 volunteers is like a significant volunteer effort. Can you talk a little bit for those that are interested in sort of the organizational structure and the sustainability of it, right? Like where have you found that that's working? Where have you found that growth makes some squeaky wheels? Like what have you learned in terms of the design of that? And that doesn't have to be Jay, that could be any.
No, I'm excited to jump in here a little bit. I'll jump in a little bit and then I encourage others to join in. I think one of the things is, that we have to acknowledge about our volunteer base is that we have some very extremely talented individuals. When you talk about our award program, Jay and actually Diana, before she was on the board, really established that award program. And, so just an example of someone with the caliber of experience and volunteer experience as Diana being part of our volunteer team. And you find that across the board and all of our volunteers. And what do I want? So we are very blessed by having people who are really like board ready, willing to serve also within the Association Latinos community. I think part of it also is that we empower them, that, everyone has ownership in what we do. I think so many of us are excited about the ability and the success that we've had. So we've proven that we can make things happen. And so that excitement, we empower them to bring their ideas. Like this is a space where if you don't have an opportunity to engage in other places, you can come here and bring your ideas or really make our mission happen. And so I think that our members feel empowered, and also it's important that they all feel the same sense of ownership that we do as board members. And then I'll talk a little bit about structure. So each board member serves as a liaison to one of the committees, and it's really up to that board member to, keep that going, that machine going, and relay information and fill in the gaps of, not having a staff. So for that, I want to use the Spanish term ganas. We have the will, right, as board members, as volunteers to get things done, right? That's really like, it hasn't stopped for 5 years. We are that committed. Growing pains, yes, we're feeling them because our members, our volunteers are asking for more. There are some gaps that happen. And so that's where we are right now, answering those questions and wanting to scale up so that we can fill some of those gaps.
If I can add, I'll just say, coming as a volunteer first, I think our volunteers don't just believe in the mission, they want to and fully are invested in making it a reality. And so I think there's the awareness, and I think also just comes from probably past experiences and cultural experiences where we as a community have always had to make the space for ourselves. And I think our volunteers really come with that understanding. So they know that this is not only a volunteer opportunity, but they're actually making a change, and they can see that. They can see the fruits of their efforts actually coming to real life with webinars, awards programs, events, our one day, Conexiones event. So I think that's also a great opportunity for our volunteers to be part of something that they've created and where they actually see it happening. And so I think that's maybe the one unique aspect that we have in our volunteers, where they really know that this is, a working board, a working organization. Everyone puts in all of their efforts because we truly believe in the mission of Association Latinos.
I'll also add that this is not one of those, if you build it, they will come. And so, you've got to pay attention to the market. You've got to have those conversations with people. And again, if you think about it as an economy, they can spend their membership dollars or they can spend their time, with anyone, frankly, right? So it's a matter of, getting our finger on the pulse, putting our finger on the pulse of what that, Association Latino person needs to help them grow, to help develop them, to help put them into leadership roles. One example is we have La Esquinita, which is our writers corner. And so, I say this and not trying to, I say this in the best possible way. We sometimes we get asked to write articles and maybe sometimes come on podcasts outside of, Association Latinos, and maybe sometimes more often during Hispanic Heritage Month. And I feel like if we do that, we lose our voice to some extent. And if we lose our voice, we're giving away our voice, we're giving away our power. And so one of the things that I thought was important, and the board as well, is to try to harness those voices, those ideas, that thought leadership, and put it under the umbrella of Association Latino, so that, people get inspired. And maybe when they put, pen to paper, there's a vulnerability there. And so it's like, I write stuff online, there's a little bit of a shield there, but actually putting your thought leadership out there for the wider association community, to read and to criticize, to critique, to give feedback. I think that's something special. And so I take pride in that, and so does the board. And so, together we were able to do this. And I know there's a story, Josie might tell you about it later, in terms of an opportunity from a recent article. But that's just one example. Again, it's people, we listen to people, we talk to people, and, we not just create community, but, products and services to meet their needs.
So I want to ask about that. I mean, I've heard a few say that your community keeps asking for more. And so there's a few components of that. The first one I want to ask about is just uh, how you stay in touch with your community, right? This idea of clear communication in ever more noisy time is something many organizations struggle with. What is your approach to trying to ever keep on the pulse of what your community is seeking? Right? Like, how do you look to not just have the squeaky wheels or the loudest voices be the ones who determine direction? How do you all organize this listening so that, as you're saying, they're asking for more, how do you hear what they're asking for?
From a structural standpoint, at least from our volunteers, we're always very open and transparent. We're not just working in committees, but we also have those committee leaders meet with the board as well to share ideas and what are they hearing from others in the association space in terms of what is lacking, what are we looking for towards the future. And then we work collaboratively to see what can we prioritize and what makes sense for what timing to bring those ideas to life. So we're constantly collaborating and working with our volunteers and those leaders that are more in the boots on the ground with other respective committees, bringing that to the forefront to make sure that we're hearing and listening what's happening every single day.
I'll also say that it's important to, have conversations outside of our own circles. And I know there are some allies on this call. And so within ASAE, there are community resource groups. And so you're paying attention to those conversations. There are some, I'll say, common threads, commonalities between all of our efforts and struggles, you could say. And so, not just commiserating, but, trying to identify what are their needs as well, because at some point, again, they're going to need somebody to bat for them, to step up to that plate, to bat for them. And so I think the goal is to learn from each other, build bridges between different communities, liaison between different communities. And I think we'll be stronger together because of that. But I think the common thing is, again, having those conversations, paying attention, building those relationships.
Yeah, and
You
I'll
know,
add just one more thing.
please.
We also do formal scanning of our volunteers, and I think that's really important, to be able to provide space for people to give honest feedback, and we take that seriously. And, we roll that up into, getting an assessment of what our volunteers are seeing and needing and what we need to do to meet those needs.
I imagine like any organization, you probably get more requests than what you, as we're talking about scaling, clearer than what you have the resources at the moment to do everything you're hearing. Can you talk a little bit more about your process of evaluation and prioritization? How do you all, as a volunteer-led group, right, try to measure what's going to be the biggest mission advancement or how you prioritize? And I'll throw the secondary question out of the back of my mind. I don't know if there's an answer to, which is, over the course of the 5 years you've been doing this, is there anything you've sunset? Is there anything that you've pulled back on or said, like, this was great, but the time is done? You're early and nascent as an organization, so if not, it's okay, but just curious if that's happened as well. You do the first one first. How do you all prioritize and decide which things to do?
I could take that one. I'll say strategic planning is something that obviously is the direction in terms of the goals, right? It's the roadmap, and the strategy is the direction. But I've been accused, I'm guilty, I'll say that, of trying to do too much in a short amount of time. I have to contain myself. And so in order to do that, right, we've got to say these are the high impact, not necessarily low hanging fruit, but these are the high impactful things. We have conversations around them. We don't always agree, right? But there's a healthy tension there where I think what surfaces are the most important things that are not only can we deliver on as a board, as a volunteer corps, committee leaders as well, but also what our community wants. And so we have to kind of constantly weigh that balance, to say, what can we deliver on? We can't try to do everything because something will slip through the cracks, but these are the high priority, important things. And out of that comes the strategic plan. And it's a matter of operationalizing that. And again, just making sure, things that we said we were going to do actually get done.
Yeah.
I can add just, I think a lot of the work that we do, we always go back to our mission, like what is our mission, which is right to advance Latino leadership, representation. And so we want to make sure that the programs that we're putting on do kind of match that mission, right? That is why we're here for. And so if you notice some of the programs and events that we've done, right, creating an awards program, having a one-day event, are really to highlight and meet the mission that we have established of Association Latinos. And so I think that's the other kind of guiding principle, is making sure that the work that we do, we're always kind of, how does it relate back to why we exist in the first place?
Have you, over the course of these years, as you've created more, stopped doing anything or had conversations around timing to sunset any efforts?
I don't know that we've actually sunset anything. I think we've been more strategic about what we've done. For example, we used to do maybe more off the cuff webinars and things like that. And now we've scaled that back. And this actually came from our professional development committee themselves in creating a webinar structure that is more targeted. So I think if anything at this point, it isn't that we have sunset anything, it's more that we have fine-tuned it. And that really has come from our volunteers. So I'll give you a great example, which was really a beautiful moment this year. This year started off with a lot of challenges personally for our community that we are still experiencing. And for board members, a benefit, I think, of Association Latinos is that many of our careers have advanced. And so that also creates more demands. Right. So at some point in this year, we kind of, met and regrouped and said, we may have to scale back on the things that we wanted to accomplish for this year. But then right after that, as Jay mentioned, we initiated having our committees come and meet with the board. And our committees came with a whole list of things that they had ready to roll out and do. And that was different. It was different in the way we had done things. It took a while. It took about a year for that to happen. It was refreshing, and it was like they had it all ready to go. And so that was a real moment for us. I think it was a shift. And so we have now also very established volunteers that have been with us for multiple years. And so that's something to really rely on. So again, just going back to that, like we are all in this together. Our volunteers are leaders. Everyone has a sense of ownership in what's going on.
Our good friend Juan Amador said in the chat, the grassroots Lowell Association Latinos invites members to take actions. There is no standing on the sidelines. So I think that speaks to what you just said, Josie, as a very accurate reflection. We have a question from Brad who asks, how are you reaching members and potential members when there are so many issues going on with email deliverability and crowded inboxes, right? How do you reach those that should be part of the organization but aren't?
I can start, and anybody else feel free to jump in. I think a lot of the work that we do, right, communication is really important. And so looking at our social media content, our kind of quarterly newsletters, are ways to get in front of people, but then also the connections that we personally make with people when we're out about in different conferences. I would say Carlos's other superpower is being a connector. And I would say that most of the people that I meet, they're like, in some way have met Carlos before, which is how they got engaged, which is why they want to get more involved. And so a lot of it also has to do with the work that we do as a board in making ourselves be present and known that if there is concerns, like there is a community for people, they can come together, whether they want to be more involved and volunteer or whether they just want to participate in the programs and events that we're hosting. And so I think that's really part of our role is to be able to be accessible to our community, and hopefully we're able to reach more people as our network kind of continues to expand, and empowering our volunteers to do the same and be that kind of welcoming person to those that are not familiar with Association Latinos, but may have a need for a support group like we have.
Yeah, I would add to that that it's not our outreach is not always about sending emails or anything like that. Our volunteers, our community are our spokespersons, and nowhere else is by the power of the voice of those individuals that are experiencing Association Latinos and the products and services that we provide. So it's the power of the voice of community, others spreading that word that we really do rely on. We don't really need to do outreach. Come and join us because our community and everything that we do really speaks for itself. And there's just our people that are coming into our events, they're just sharing what they're experiencing with their industry colleagues, friends, and family. And that's really has been the vibrancy of the incoming and growing community as well.
You know, a few times throughout our conversation, you've mentioned sort of a next chapter of scaling up. I was just hoping you can give us a little more insight into how you are intentionally approaching that effort. What are your thoughts in terms of how a volunteer-led organization thinks about scaling, right? Like from everything from premise to strategy to resource to execution. I mean, you may be on the early end, so you may not have the whole story yet, right? But Lee, what's the intention as you think about that place of scaling? And I believe, Josie, you've been president for 3 years, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if that is a place of executive transition is a piece of the story, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that scaling
Sure.
means.
Actually, I invite Carlos to talk about this one, but I'm happy to jump in at any point. But I think one is a membership model. That is probably the number one thing that our community has been asking us for, to formalize that. And so, and then the second is, financial sustainability, as is, once we get into it being official, it all becomes about that same opportunity that all of our organizations have, right? So I think that's where we are right now. And like I said, Carlos, I don't know if you have anything else you want to share.
Yeah, I'll say with anything else, again, just listening. I say I'm going on a listening tour to talk to board members and our committee volunteers as well. But Josie's exactly right. So, membership model is one of them. Diversified revenue streams, financial, health is another one of them. But I also want to take a step back and say, before we can grow and scale, you've got to take care of home base. And so foundational infrastructure and one of the things that I like to joke and say I'm a tech guy, right? I can get away with some things, but I feel like that's one of the major things that we need to kind of shore up in terms of that organizational infrastructure. So technology, and again, I work in Delcor and I worked in IT, but you've got all of this disparate data telling you a story, and it's scattered, right? So one of my things is, how do we get it all together to tell that comprehensive thing so the board can have a visual dashboard to say, returned attendees in terms of our event registrations, which campaigns are resonating, with our community. Why are they coming back? Why do they choose us? What is our, volunteer corps in our community? What do they need in terms of, their professional development? So again, technology is another one, but you say governance and people cringe. That's another part that I think we need to focus on as well. Whether it's data governance or it's board governance, again, you've got to find ways to say it in another way, but that's something that we definitely need in terms of what are the expectations of our volunteer members? What are the expectations of our board members? It can't just be a continuous, checklist of things that you've got to do. You've got, professional life, you've got a family at home. And so we've got to be clear in terms of what those expectations are. And so I'll say over the next couple of years, we're going to focus on some of those things. And that is going to unlock our potential, to scale and to grow and to achieve things that, again, we all dream about. Get a little bit of goosebumps thinking about some of those things. But yeah, those are some of the things. I'm not going to spill all the secrets, but yeah, those are some of the things.
That's all right. The coming attractions are great. And I'll say I'm going to keep asking some questions, but if one of you wants to put in chat any of the social media links where people should be following Latinos, Association Latinos, that would be great so people can sign up there as well. We know that you have, of course, grown into really a sort of a nascent now an organization with some maturity to it. Could you talk a little bit about organizational relationships, right? Like, how do you look at this stage that you're at of the relationship with the organization to ASAE, the relationship with the organization to Black Association executives? Like, there's all these dynamics of all other organizations in the space that have their distinct missions, but I imagine are part of a broader community network as well. How do you approach organization to organization alignment, collaboration, communication?
I'm
I'll
happy to
add.
start here.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Jay.
No,
No,
I
you go
was just
ahead.
going to say briefly, we definitely view those organizations as opportunities for partnerships. We do have, sometimes we're sharing some of the same stakeholders, so we always are open to have collaboration and maybe work together on different products and services that may be out there. So we're always open how we can come together as a community and help each other out because we do share a lot of the same struggles as in the environment or what's happening in the environment. So anything, opportunities that we can work together, we definitely are open to that. Josie, sorry to cut you off. You're on mute.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just also inviting everyone to subscribe to our newsletter as well. Okay, so yes, to build upon what Jay said, at the end of the day, our mission is to prepare, right, to highlight and elevate Latinos working in the association space. So it should be very clear that we want to be within the association space at the larger organizations at the national level and with our colleagues. So that is extremely important to us. We really see our role as being a space for people who identify as Latinos to come and build their confidence, build their network, sharpen their skills, support our mission, be in community, have safe spaces, so that then they can engage in the larger association community as well and lead in those spaces. So that's how we see our relationship with Association Forum and ASAE. It is our intention, we believe that there are gaps in leadership there. There are many, many strong Latino leaders working in associations. There are many Latino focused associations whose voices are missing from the greater association space. So it's twofold. One is if you want to advance your career, if you have, been exposed to Association Forum or ASAE and you just can't see yourself there, you can't, see how you can fit in, not fit in, but like kind of find your space. you can come to Association Latinos, create a network. We will support you, you know, so that you can engage confidently within the larger association space. And then it is our goal to collaborate with our fellow colleagues, again, you know, who are working with their own members and doing the same, because we are a community. That's at the essence of the association community is that we do that. And it's really important here to talk about the allies because, again, organically, our success has been because of allies and others who are established in the association space, wanting to support us, being present with us, participating in our activities. And so we're really proud of those relationships that we forged. And here's a great opportunity to talk about what Carlos mentioned earlier. So when we launched La Esquinita, it really is a space for Latinos to come and share their thoughts, right? Their talent as subject matter experts. And recently we were, well, I may be giving away stuff, but one of our associations, right, inquired about using one of our posts from our writers in their publication. So hopefully everyone will see that soon and we'll be able to promote that. But I think that's an example of, you know, what we have established. One, you know, we're also successful because we are really like rock stars. Everyone, you know, within our associate, you know, who's working here, who's writing, who's posting to La Esquinita. I mean, you know, that's important to be said too, who maybe just for whatever reason haven't had the opportunity to be seen or noticed in other areas. But that's number one in the forefront. And then it's because of the relationships that we have forged as an organization to be open and willing and want people to join the larger organizations as well, that we have this type of success, that we have this type of coalition and collaboration.
I could just finish that up, and I'll say again, taking a step back to understand the problem and so in some way, or understand the opportunity. I think in some ways, you know, Black Association executives, Association Latinos, and there are others, you know, the reason they're forming, I think it's symptomatic of a larger opportunity challenge in the association ecosystem, you could say. And so, you know, we're, you know, Latino professionals getting the resources and tools that they needed, you know, to thrive and succeed in associations. I don't think so, right? So otherwise we would have just went on our way after that conversation, you know, 5 years ago. You know, but we saw it as an opportunity. And again, I feel like others are seeing that same thing. And so part of the larger efforts is there's an opportunity here. And I think part as an all volunteer association, 501c3, I think one of our strengths is partnerships to be able to accelerate things that maybe we would not be able to afford because we would have low budgets and we're not in the big boy shop yet or the big boy tier yet. But I think partnerships can help us gain speed and accelerate so that we can put on, you know, events where we would normally not be able to. I think partnerships is the way, you know, for the future of Association Latinos.
Well, and I'll make a direct shout out that from the chat, Juan once again encourages everyone that whether you're a member of Association Latinos or an ally, that donation and support is something that will further enhance the next chapter in the scaling up of this important community. Our time is rapidly going by. There was a little tease about an opportunity from a recent article that I didn't want to let pass by. So I'm not sure what the story is, but if someone wants to tell us the story, it was dropped, so I need to know what the story is.
I think Josie wants to say it. Maybe a little bit more.
I did say, well, okay, so, but it isn't published yet, but the forum reached out to us to have Abby Byers' recent article on describing how the situation with Bad Bunny relates to the association world to repost that or to republish that within one of their online publications, I believe. And so that is a big deal to us. You know, that's a big deal because it was through our platform that Abby chose to share that, you know, thought leadership, and it's been picked up by one of the, you know, larger associations. And so that's our mission in action. That's an example of our mission in action right there. So we look forward to seeing that come to fruition.
Perfect. As our time is starting to wind down, I guess I would ask just as a general question, what are you most looking forward to in 2026 for Association Latinos? In the year ahead, what's top of mind for you that you're looking for?
And ask Diana to take this one if she doesn't mind.
Sure. Yeah. It's a really great question. I think for me personally, is to continue to see our community feel empowered and that they are right, they belong. And I think that's a lot of the work that we're doing. But in I guess hopes for like future would be that they're not the exception, but the norm, right? That we are in those leadership spaces that association professionals should be in, and we're not just like the one of. And so that would be, or I hope in the next year or so that we're making more strides in that specific space and area.
Perfect. Well, I'll ask one of you can answer this or all of you, depending on if you have different answers. But to wrap us out, uh, I think it's going to be tied to mission, but how would you articulate what you hope the legacy of this organization is, right? If we're talking again in 10 years or in 20 years, perhaps you're seeing, perhaps you're not on the board anymore at that point. Perhaps there's others on the board, right? But what is the organization they're inheriting? What is the impact that the organization has made?
I think I can go back a couple years. I think Jay said something similar, so I'll pull on that thread a little bit. But I think if we can look in the next, 3, 5, 10 years, and we will have built pipelines to leadership across an association, whether that's mid-level managers, directors, senior directors, C-suite, and even nonprofit boards. If we can see Latinos and our allies in leadership positions across an association, or leading associations, I think that's basically the operationalizing of our mission statement. And that would be something incredible to see, kind of play out. The other side of that, I would say, is that not only in leadership positions, but, again, there's a healthy competition in associations. And so again, how do we differentiate ourselves in the market space, from all other associations? Again, I can play that. I'm the IT guy card, but I'd like to, look at other industries for opportunities and inspiration in terms of like, how can we reach across industries? How can we bring other organizations together? Just to touch on the partnership aspect of it, we have a lot of Latino associations who don't know their associations, who don't know their nonprofits, and don't necessarily have the tools to operate in that way. And so if we could be the convener and bring them all together and create an ecosystem, I think those two things, and there's many more, but that would be success to me.
Is that good for everyone?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, I'm so incredibly grateful to the four of you for joining us once again. Carlos, Diana, Jay, Josie, the work you've done over the past 5 years as an organization, as a community is just amazing. We look forward to not only seeing more CEOs, but more fellows, more award winners, truly more just success from the community at large. And we know that with your support and with how carefully you listen and from the many volunteers contributing that we will.
If I could
For
say,
everyone, yes,
yeah,
go ahead, Carlos.
I just want to say one more thing. Again, it's
Please.
3 years. Josie took the leadership helm, right, of Association Latinos. Can't tell you how much I get emotional, but I can't tell you how much she's been an inspiration for me as well in terms of my leadership maturation. So I want to take this moment to give her her flowers. She's meant so much to me and the organization. And so I look back and we're going to build upon, what she built, right? And she helped us steer the ship. So there's a reason why we're here. And a big part of that is her leadership.
Well,
Thank
Josie,
you.
I hope before your term is over, before the end of the year, I will be keeping my eyes open to the newsletter and to social media to hear your state of reflection of your 3-year term as we get to celebrate what you and the organization has accomplished under your leadership. Thank you for it.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and it's been the biggest gift that I've had.
And thank you to everyone who's tuned in for this conversation and for every conversation we have along the way. Please do check out get involved, listen to, and support Association Latinos. They're a critical partner in our community. We look forward to seeing the community continue to thrive and lead as it has. To everyone, happy November. May this be a season of thanks and gratitude for everyone. We look forward to talking to you next time. Association Rock On.